It was 50 years ago.
Breathing while sleeping and blood clots in the legs. Common side effects include
Friday,
irritation where applied, increased red blood cell count.
November 22nd, 1963. 50 years ago, this Friday, that America would never forget this day in history. Friday, November 22nd, 1963. That's the date when John F. Kennedy, President Kennedy, was gunned down in a motorcade in Dallas. JFK died of his wounds, and he died way too young at the age of 46. But imagine if all the theories of what could have been if President Kennedy hadn't been assassinated that date and would have lived to finish out his term and would have run the office again in 1964. The crystal ball of Peter Wiggins would have looked like this.
Find a better night's sleep. Try the Sealy Posturepedic Hybrid, which
President Kennedy, if
with a deep down support of springs, this week
would have gotten us out of the Vietnam War much earlier than we had in 1975.
Now is the perfect time to get away from
And
the New England
if President Kennedy got us out of the Vietnam War, the American children
powerful EcoBoost engine. Here's something else to shout about.
would have a father, and there would have been thousands of fewer American troops suffering from post-traumatic stress syndrome.
Or buy with 0% for 60 months plus up to $500 cash back.
And Lyndon Johnson would have been dropped as JFK's running mate in 64. Then the announcement between Vice President Johnson and Attorney General Robert Kennedy was well known in Washington and around the country. And possibly JFK's Vice Presidential candidate would have been Hubert Humphrey or Governor Edmund G. Brown in California back in '64, both were out off the president's re-election campaign.
Story we called
Humphrey, a good speaker,
about the
and
asteroids posed to the Earth. Last
Brown could have taken votes from Senator Barry Goldwater.
crashed into the atmosphere and
The issues in the presidential campaign back in '64 would have been drastically different had Kennedy lived. Since the United States would have mined the war of Vietnam, it is likely that the most pressing issue that the election would have had the economy, Texas, civil rights legislation, jobs and railroad, and the military and post-war America.
years.
And the civil rights agenda would have been different if Kennedy was still the president.
To wipe out entire continents.
And the moon landing would have been a little sooner.
The solar system's gonna get you.
Back then,
The solar system may get you
the moon landing took place on July 20, 1969.
Wipe out an entire continent. A new
And he would have hands-on production running the Apollo space mission and the moon landing would have taken place at least a few minutes earlier, quite possibly before the end of September. What could have been
previously believed. When a meteor streaks across the sky, like this
hippie movement would not have been
on November 6th, don't forget to duck.
gained the popularity.
I'm Leslie Starr.
Veterans would have got better care, and most likely there would never been a President Lyndon Johnson or President Nixon.
As farmers, we make you smarter about
And
insurance. Because what
Kennedy would have succeeded back in '68 by one of the two likely best presidential candidates in '64 either Hubert H. Humphrey or
what if you didn't know that as
Edmund Brown.
rises social
And higher education would have promoted better ways to tantalize the imagination of all Americans. As JFK was a very strong advocate of higher education and a Harvard graduate, he could have promoted higher education and among leaders throughout the world. So, this what could have been back in the '60s if JFK weren't assassinated in Dallas, Texas. Remember,
mispreferences
November 22nd,
for a full
for you all Americans, remember what JFK was once
to the effects
a
of
good president.
and inflation.
Remember JFK.
You have goals.